Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa libaytihi wa nattaba'a sunnati ajma'in. Fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Qala Allahu tabarak wa ta'ala وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَتْهُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون أولئك عليهم صلوات من ربهم ورحمة وأولئك هم المهتدون. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والعاقبة للمتقين ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala azza wa jalla sha'nahu have given us this beautiful another opportunity in this blessed month of Muharram al-Haram to come together and discuss about the significance of what happened on the 10th of Ashura. As we know, in this Surah Baqarah I recited the ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mentioned, we will test you. The test for every believer, but especially for those who are more close to him, are being through the most of the examination and testing. And we know that prophets and messengers and awliya Allah have to go through much more hardship than what we go through. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayah, we will test you from the khawf, which fear, ju, which is hunger, min al-khawfi wal-ju' naqs min al-amwali wal-anfusi was-samarat. So will loss of life and wealth and fruits and sustenance. And we see that in Quran, every single ayah was practically lived by Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family. We have heard about this when we did talk about it in the beginning. There are a few very important things to know, that it just did not change what the dynamics and history of Islam, it also changed the history of humanity. That the Shahadat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Ahl Bayt, among them 18 to 20 were the children of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, direct descendant, not that it was extended family. And then we know that 52 or so or 50 or so Sahaba Ikram and the other Sunni Muslim Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah were there in that, who took the martyrdom. It has been reported, and it's been in the history book of histories, and I have all the references. Because of the time, inshallah, I will try to mention some if possible. Otherwise, I'll move on fast. After when the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he took the martyrdom, after that, they looted his body, not just the tents, looted his own body. And we have documented history about one man named Qais bin Muhammad bin Ash'as. He took out the kurta, जिसने आपका कुर्ता चुरा लिया, जिस पे 100 से ज़्यादा सुराख थे, ज़ख्मों के, तीरों के और भालों के और मुख्तलिफ़ किस्म के. बहर बिन काब एक आदमी का नाम लिखा गया, जिसने आपका पजामा मुबारक उतार कर आपको बरहना कर दिया. आप गौर करें, नवासे रसूल सैयद शबाब अहल जन्ना, आपका सर मुबारक जिसको जिस्म से अलग किया, उसमें शिमर और खौली बिन यजीद का नाम आता है, और बड़े शोर से कहता था कि मैंने इमाम हुसैन का सर कलम किया है. एक आदमी था, उसका नाम था असद बिन खालिद. उसने आपके पैरों की जूते और चप्पल जो भी आपके पैर में थी वो उतारे और वो चुरा लिए. सनान बिन अनस, उसने आपकी अंगूठी और ज़र्रा बख्तर आपकी चुरा ली. एक ने हज़रत फ़ातिमा रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हा की वो चादर जिस पे पेवन लगे हुए थे, जो हुज़ूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने आपको शादी के वक्त दी थी, वो चुरा के ले गए खैमों से. आपके खैमों को आग लगा दी गई, और आपकी बच्चियां और बहनें और आपकी वालदा और आपकी फूफी हज़रत ज़ैनब बिनत अली रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हा, ये छुप रही थीं और एक दूसरे को बचा रही थीं. उनकी सरों की चादरें ले ली गईं, उनके माल को लूटा गया. ऐसा लूट रहे थे कि जैसे कुछ है ही नहीं. और उसके अलावा जब आप हज़रत इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम को बरहना कर दिया, सर आपका कलम कर दिया, और उसके बाद आपके जिस्म पर और इनके जितने भी साथी थे आपके जिस्मों पर घोड़े दौड़ाए ताकि उनके जिस्म कुचल दिए, और ये इस तरह से इनके साथ सलूक किया। और फिर उसके बाद इन लोगों को बग़ैर कजावे की ऊँटों के पीठों पे बेड़ियाँ डालकर पैरों में और हाथों में इनके हथकड़ियाँ डालकर और इनको उन पे बिठाकर ले जाया गया। और इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन एक वाहिद जो बचे थे मर्द, बाकी तो सब औरतें ही बची थीं, और जो कि आबिद बीमार के नाम से मशहूर है वाक़या, आपके साथ ये किया गया कि आपको बग़ैर कजावे की ऊँटों के ऊपर बिठा करके ले गए। आप अंदाज़ा लगाएं, औरतें, बच्चे और बच्चियाँ खुसूसन, और ये वो बच्चियाँ थीं जिनको कभी किसी ने बेपर्दा नहीं देखा था। जब किसी ने इनके चेहरे नहीं देखे थे, इनके इतनी हुर्मत वाली और पाक बीवियाँ थीं, हुजूर की डायरेक्ट नवासियाँ। अब अंदाज़ा लगाएं ये मामला कितना अजीब सा है कि करने वाले इस जल्दी में थे कि जनाब नमाज ना निकल जाए और हुसैन को जल्दी ख़त्म करो। और ये नहीं कि आपको सिर्फ शहीद कर दिया, आपके साथ जो किया मामला, उसमें कुछ ऐसी बातें हैं जिनको सुनकर आदमी और पढ़ कर के आदमी का दिल पसीज जाता है। मैं आपको कुछ और बातें इस मामले में बताता हूँ कि हज़रत इमाम हुसैन ने यजीद की बैत करने से क्यों मना किया। पहले ये कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर हो जाए। आपसे जब यजीद हुकूमत में आया 60 हिजरी में, उसने वलीद बिन उक़बा को भेजा कि इमाम हुसैन से बैत कर ले, तो उसने आपको बुलाया, वो उसको गवर्नर बना के भेजा, और उसके साथ मरवान बिन हकम भी मौजूद था। मरवान बिन हकम ने कहा, ही डिमांडेड के शुड टेक अ बैया ऑन द हैंड ऑफ यजीद। तो इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम ने क्या कहा कि अना हुसैन बिन अली बिन अबी तालिब, Quran and Malaika comes to our home, had a nuzul in our home, and Yazid bin Muawiyah, fasiqun, fajirun, qatilun nafsin, mu'linin fisq, sharib al-khumr. I cannot take bay'ah on his hand. फासिक, बदकिरदार, फाजिर जो कि गुनाहगार और अल्लाह ताला का बागी, कातिल नफ्स जो कि लोगों को कत्ल करता है, मुअलिन फिस्क यानी फिस्क में हद से गुजर गया, शारब अल खुमर शराब पीता है। And he actually started violating the tenets of Islam, and Imam Hussein alayhi salam knew it, not that it was not known, but he was forced upon them. तो जब आप जा रहे थे तो आप पलट कर उसके पास से जाने लगे, तो at that time Marwan bin Hakam suggested to Walid bin Uqba, behead him now, otherwise it will be difficult to control him. And Imam Hussein alayhi salam took out his sword without turning back and moving on his backward on his feet, पीछे को चलते हुए फरमाने लगे, मैं हुसैन बिन अली बिन अबी तालिब हूँ, और हमारे ख़ानदान में इसके ज़रिए से अगर तुम में से कोई काबू कर सकता है तो तलवार आपने दिखाई। तो दे बैक ऑफ, and he was the one, Huzur Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said that a transgressor, a zalim of Banu Umayyah will try to change my sunnah. So it was obligated upon Imam Hussein to do this. So Imam Hussein in about month of Rajab left Medina with his family to go to Mecca for the Hajj. And he had a bag full of letters from the people of Kufa who invited him to come and lead them. And they said that if you will not come, we will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in front of Allah, we will say, we ask for Hussein to come and be our Imam, and he did not respond. So people, when they were, even Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas, and these are the Akabirin Sahaba, they tried to suggest him not to go because Kufis were not trustworthy. He said, Allah's command is such that I should obey, and this is where they need my help, I will go. And if he had a plan to fight and do something of war, he should not have taken his wife and children and the girls and very young age, Sakina and all the children with him. And he took his sister, Acha, ek baat we need to understand, the sisters, we don't hear much about sister whenever we talk about religious matter. But Sayyida Zainab bint Ali radiallahu anha, she was born in 5th year of Hijrah, and she's the one who had a very significant part what happened after the martyrdom. And during the whole journey, she stood by. She gave her two sons, On and Muhammad, who were young boys, and they fought and took the martyrdom in there. And while Imam Hussein was in the Haram Kaaba, in the Mecca, for the Hajj with all the people, and he had some information that there are people have been sent to assassinate him. So while on the 8th of Zulhijjah, people were preparing for the Hajj, while Imam Hussein left the Hajj and he went towards Karbala, to the Kufa. While he was on his way to Kufa, Hur bin Riyahi came with about 1,000 to some thousands of soldiers, intercepted him, and he said, I have a command that not to let you go to the Kufa because there was a chances that people will rebel in Kufa. So then Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he steered away, as you could see in the map, like Medina is here, Makkah is southwest of Medina, and then we see that Kufa is northeast of that direction. So while they were going to northeast, and Karbala is a little bit west of that, and a little bit slightly north. So they were stopped in a very desolated land. And Imam Hussein, when he came across that, lot of details, he bought the land. He said, this is the place we will stop and will be stationed. And then Hur bin Rihai, when he was asked if you want to join in the Salah, he can join with him. And he said, I'm going to join you with the Salah, but I'm still servant of Yazid. So I'm going to serve him. So about 9th of Muharram, it was negotiation were going on, that they were demanding a bay'ah, and Imam Hussein was saying, not bay'ah. Anything else, not the bay'ah. I will not take the bay'at on his hand. I will not accept him as the Amir al-Mu'mineen. If I will do it, that's going to be a precedent, wrong precedent will be sent, a unrighteous person ruling in the name of Hussein. And this would have been the tradition. So we need to understand the philosophy and concept behind it, which you may have heard from other scholars also. So on the 9th of Muharram, Imam Hussein said, give us in the Maqam Bayda, he said, Lakum fihi uswatun. And for you, my character is going to be a guidelines to follow. So 9th of Muharram, he asked for them to give us one day. And then in that night, he put out the lights and he asked anybody who wants to leave can leave. And interestingly enough, nobody left when he turned the light up. Candle lights they were having at that time. As Quran says, Inna Allah ashta min al-mu'minina amwalahum wa anfusahum bi anna lahum al-jannah. And then we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given these people the motivation and strength and will to die for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's family. So, and as you know, in the 10th of Muharram, they did the Tahajjud Salah together, and the Fajr Salah was the last Salah with the Jama'ah, and that was the last Salah they made. And then each of them start going for fighting, and there was a sequence of that. And Ali Akbar is the eldest son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and when he got injured, he called Ya Bata Adrikni, and he was wounded, and he was about to lose his life. And Imam Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu alayhi salam, he started bringing the bodies. As you could see, there were 72 martyrs. All day long, he carried the bodies of each and every one of them. And then he kept them together. And finally, when it came to the martyrdom of Ali Akbar, Imam Hussein, he said, Rabbana taqabbal minni hazal qurban. Oh Allah, accept from me this qurban. And then we see that Umar bin Saad, who was the son of Saad ibn Abi Waqas, who was one of the very Jalil al-Qadr Sahabi, out of the greed of becoming the governor of the Ray, which is Iran and Tehran today, it was promised to him. Even though he initially did not want to come to confront with Imam Hussein, but with the greed took over him, and he came and joined and led the battlefield. And then Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, he was born from the relation of Abu Sufyan before he became Muslim. And he was he was sent to be to the governor of that Kufa, because Kufa was about to have taken bay'ah on the hand of Muslim bin Aqil. And Ibn Ziyad, he entered in the city and he forced everybody to break the bay'ah with Muslim bin Aqil, who was the cousin of Imam Hussein. And Imam Hussein, while he's on his way, he got the message that Muslim bin Aqil has been murdered, has been martyred. His two sons have been killed. He still did not turn away. He said, we will go to the Kufa. We will not turn away. The bravery, you know that you are going in the path where there is no return. Yet he did not step back and he continued moving. तो वो आप इमाम हुसैन इस्लाम ने फैसला किया कि हम जाएंगे और हम मुस्लिम का उनसे बदला लेंगे. ये नहीं कि हम डर गए अब हम वापस चले जाएंगे. इस वक्त हम ये मामला देख रहे हैं कि जब 10 तारीख को जब शुरू हुआ तो इमाम हुसैन जब आखिरी में आखिर में जब ख़ुद इतने शदीद ज़ख्मी हो गए, मैं तफसीलात नहीं जा सकता, बहुत तफसीलें और आप रो पड़ेंगे इतनी तफसीलें सुन करके कि इंसान बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकता. वी कैन नॉट endure it. So when Imam Hussein alayhi salam, when he become extremely wounded, when he came off his horse, that was Zuljana, he said, Allahumma radan bi qada'ik, sabran ala bala'ik, tasliman bi amrik, subhana rabbi al-ala. And he went into the sajda. His body was riddled with the arrows and spears. And as he went down, they got deep into his body. And that's where it was told by Amr bin Saad to Shimr bin Jashim to go and take his head off. And they took a rugged, not the sharp object. The knife was not sharp. It was cutting through the skin as roughly. And Khali bin Yazid, he took the knife and cut Imam Hussein's head off. We should also see that there is sequence of events are happening. And they collected the heads of all of them. And Amr bin Saad, he made Salat al-Janaza for the Yazidis, which were about 400, has been recorded in the history, were killed by the 72 of the Imam Hussein's side. He made the Salat al-Janaza for them, but he did not make the Salat al-Janaza for those who came with Imam Hussein. Because they considered and they were the rebels and they were the enemies, na'uzubillah, of the state. After that, when they brought him to the Ibn Ziyad, you see, Amr bin Saad, Khali bin Yazid, Shivr bin Jashim, and the others, they were all in there and they were taking it, the body. When they arrived to the Kufa, they were told to stay overnight outside and they were preparing the city for the victory and celebration. At that time, Khali took the head of Imam Hussein to his home, and his wife's name was Nuwara, and he brought that head of Imam Hussein, and she said, what have you brought? He told her that I have got something which is going to make us very rich, and just don't tell anybody, because he wanted to stay home. She was the lover of family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she saw in the night, when he went to sleep, she saw in the night that the nur was coming out of the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And she got a little excited, and she did not know how Imam Hussein looked like. She had never met him. So then in the morning she asked, what is this? You have to tell me. So he said, this is the head of Imam Hussein. She said, shame be upon you. She cried and moaned that you killed the son of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So she said, I don't want to have anything to do with you. He took the head of Imam Hussein back to the procession. As they enter, Imam Zain al-Abidin gave a khutbah. This khutbah, when they were coming into the Kufa, he said, those who know me and those who do not know me should know this. मैं अली, उनका नाम अली बिन हुसैन था, अली बिन हुसैन बिन अली बिन अबी तालिब हूँ. मैं वो मजलूम हूँ जिसके मस्तूरात को लूट लिया गया. I am the innocent man whose women were looted. मैं वो बेकस हूँ जिसके ख़याम को नज़र आतिश किया गया. And I am that person whose tent was burned. मैं वो गरीब हूँ जिसका माल गारत कर दिया गया. I am the poor or the traveler whose possessions were destroyed. मैं वो तना हूँ जिसकी माँओं बहनों और फूफियों को रस बस्ता किया गया. Means I am the one whose mothers and sisters and aunts were put into chains and bound and treated as prisoners of wars and slaves. मैं वो यतीम हूँ जिसके बाप को तुमने 3 दिन का भूखा प्यासा दरिया फरात के किनारे शहीद किया. I am that orphan whose father you murdered 3 days of thirst and hunger in the bank of river Frat. मैं उस मजलूम का बेटा हूँ जिसने ज़ेर खंजर भी सब्र का दामन नहीं छोड़ा. And I am the son of that oppressed person who did not left the patience and faith in the very last moment under the knife. ए लोगों, मैं तुम्हें कसम देता हूँ अल्लाह की कि तुमने मेरे बाबा को खतूत लिख कर कूफा आने के लिए कहा. And I swear you by the God, O people of Kufa, that you invited my father by sending him letters. तुम ही ने मेरे बाबा को धोखा दिया. You cheated and betrayed my father. तुम ही ने खत लिखे. You are the one who wrote the letters. उनमें बैयत की और फिर अपने उन्हीं से जंग की. लानत हो तुम्हारे इस अमल पर जिसके नतीजे में तुमने फर्जंद रसूल को प्यासा ज़बाह कर दिया. You are the people who wrote the letter and took the bay'ah on his hand, and you fought with him. Lanat be upon you and curse of God be upon you for your this action. At the result of that, you killed the son of the prophet, thirsty, you slaughtered him. भला तुम किन नज़रों से हुजूर का सामना करोगे जब वो फरमाएंगे तुम मेरी औलाद के कातिल हो. With what eyes would you face Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the day of judgment when he will tell you that you were the one who murdered my son? लोगों ने कहा रोते हुए अर्ज़ किया, ए फर्जंद रसूल, हमें अफसोस है कि हमने हम अपने आप को मलामत कर रहे हैं. आप हमें हुक्म दें, हम इस जंग के लिए तैयार हैं जो आप हमें हुक्म दें. The people said while crying that, O son of prophet, we are sorry and we are aggrieved and we malamat ka English मुझे नहीं पता. We are ashamed of our action and we are ready to obey any commands you give us and we will fight anyone you want. You see, now these Kufis who invited Imam Hussein were there crying and mourning and doing the matam. That is the first matam done in the history of Islam. आपने फरमाया, इमाम ज़ैनुल आबिदीन said, खबरदार, तुमने यही वादा मेरे बाबा, मेरे चाचा, मेरे दादा से किए थे और तुम पर एतबार नहीं कर सकता. The Baba was Imam Hussein, Chacha was Muslim bin Aqil and his 2 sons, and Dada was Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu alayhi salam. So I cannot trust you people for what you did to my family. And similar khutbah, Zainab bint Ali radiyallahu ta'ala anha said when they were entering the Kufa, as they were being paraded to bring to the castle of the Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. When we read these things, and the reference of this speech is not from the Sunni reference. This reference is from Sayyid Muhammad Mehdi. The book is Ma'ali al-Sibtain and page is 190. This is the khutbah taqreer of Imam Zainul Abidin written. So we, Ahl-Sunnah wal Jama'ah says, it was the Kufis who invited him, Kufis who betrayed him, Kufis who trapped him because they were afraid and they were bought out by money by Ibn Ziyad and Yazid. And this is what they all did, that they turned against Imam Hussein and they never came across to help. When this much more quickly I want to go because time I have to keep on track. After this, after one day, and when they were into the Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad place, what happened is that he wanted to kill Imam Zainul Abidin also because he said, who is this? He did not know. So they said it is Ali bin Hussein. So he said Ali bin Hussein was killed. That's what my knowledge means. Ali Akbar, he said that was my brother. I am the one who could not participate because I was ill. So he said, go ahead, kill him too. I don't want him to live. At that time, Auntie Zainab bint Ali radiallahu ta'ala anha, She came in and she said, if you touch him, I'm going to curse you and I make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to destroy you. You have to kill all of us to kill him. He's the only man living in our family now. So he said, okay, I'm going to leave it for the Yazid to deal with him. Next day, they were supposed to be taken to Damascus, to Yazid. Now just imagine, from Karbala to Kufa, and next day wounded, hungry, thirsty, exhausted, grieving, loss of everybody in the family. And these women were taken in the bare back of the camel, and they were given only enough food and drink to sustain themselves. And they were rapidly brought over journey over back to Syria, where Yazid was supposed to be. And there were a lot of things happen, and I don't want to go into those details, but one very important story to be known, that there was a lady who used to be servant of Fatima bint Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and she was a young beautiful girl. She was her servant. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu brought her to serve Fatima radiallahu anha, and she was very beautiful as she grew up. Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to treat her like her own daughter, and when she grew up and her beauty was known, and somebody from the Syria sent a proposal for her marriage. So Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha arranged for her marriage and give her a wasiyah. She said, whenever people coming prisoners, make sure you provide them with the food. And this is what happened. Then she sent her servant to, when they were raising the head of Imam Hussein on the spear, and they were carrying them all, and they were gone through the market, which is still present there in Sham. And they found out that this woman has sent the food. And Sayyidah Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha refused to eat the food. The servant says, this is not belonging to Yazid. This is the food from our master lady. She is the one who serves all the prisoners whenever they come. So then she said, I want to meet this lady. When the lady came in and she said, where are you from? She said, I'm from Medina. So she started telling her that I was in Medina and I got married and I'm here. My master lady was a Fatma, and she told me to feed the people whenever they come as a prisoner. As you know, that the Fatima radiallahu ta'ala anha knew that her daughter will be prisoner one day and they will be brought into this place. So she says, I'll always provide them the food. And she said, I used to take care of two boys, Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam, and there was this young girl. She was born and I used to carry her with me. And she said, I do not know how they are. So Zainab radiallahu ta'ala anha start crying and mention that this is the Hussein, the younger one, which you used to take care of, and I am the Zainab, which you're talking about. The woman screamed and cried out and died right there and then. So this is how the tragedy of this event happened, and a lot of people were involved in that. We also know that there is one of the Sahabi. He said, when I saw the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he noticed that the lip of Imam Hussein alayhi salam were moving. Minhal bin Amr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And he came close to the ear of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and his lips were saying this word, Ajaba min ashabi kayfa qatli wa hamali. The words coming out of his lips were, it is strange, the Ashab Kahf, the story of the Kahf, because somebody was reading that Surah Kahf. And he said that his lips were responding, the story of people of Kahf is strange, but my murder and my carrying on the spear is more stranger than that. And we know that this is mentioned in book of Imam Suyuti Khasais al-Kubra, and this is in the it's so much there to talk about. And when Yazid, when he was playing with the lip of Imam Hussein with his stick he was carrying, Zayd bin Arqam radiallahu ta'ala anhu was there. And he mentioned, same thing was done by Ibn Ziyad. And there Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu mentioned him. And here Ibn Ziyad and Zayd bin Arqam was there with, he shouted at him, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. He said, these are the lips Prophet used to kiss and suck the tongue when Imam Hussein used to be thirsty. So he stopped from it. Now let's a little fast forward it, because a lot more happened. Then Imam Zain al-Abidin were brought, and Imam Sayyidah Zainab was in the court of Yazid, and they gave a sermon. That sermon was so amazing, unbelievable. If you read about that sermon, you will understand that what happened. 6 years later, Mukhtar Saqafi, he stood up against those who killed all the Ahl Bayt. Mukhtar Saqafi came out to be the right person. And they were relation, that he was related to the great-grandson of Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Family was married into him. He was a righteous man in the beginning, but later on he declared to be the prophet in Medina. And that's where a lot of things happened. But that he was being also killed. But he took the revenge. He killed 6,000 of those people of the army of Yazid. 6,000 लोगों को मारा है. और वही तारीख क्या दोहराती है कि ज़ैद इब्न अरक़म रदी अल्लाह ताला, he is one of the longest, oldest living Sahabi. He lived 100 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Longest living Sahabi. He saw that the same Ibn Ziyad, when he was playing in a tray the head of the Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his head was brought, which was killed by the man he sent, named Ibrahim. He killed his head and sent it to Mukhtar Saqafi. And he was playing with his lip. What a strange thing. It is being witnessed by everybody that when they did what they did to them. And then we also know that these people, all and every one of them had a very disgraceful death who was involved in killing of Ahl Bayt Athar radiyallahu ta'ala anhum. I mean, इस वाक़े को बयान करने के अंदर ना, मैं जब इसकी तैयारी कर रहा था तो रिक़्क़त तारी हो गई. आप बयान नहीं कर सकते जो आप देख पढ़ रहे होते हैं. अल्फाज नहीं होते हैं कि इस तकलीफ़ को बयान करें जो हुज़ूर अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम जानते थे, हज़रत अली जानते थे, हज़रत फ़ातिमा जानती थी. हज़रत फ़ातिमा ने उस वक्त जब ये बच्चे थे कह दिया था कि उस खातून को कि तुम मेरे बच्चे जब आएंगे तो तुम उनको खाना खिलाना. अब अंदाज़ा लगाएं कि इनके इल्म में ये सब बातें थीं और ये तारीख़ की हकीकत है कि जिसको हम जानते हैं. अब्दुल मलिक बिन मरवान जब हाकिम बना, बात आगे बढ़ जाती है तो यजीद ने फिर उसके बाद एक और बात हुई है जिसका आपको बुखारी और कुरान की आयत से रेफरेंस देता हूँ मैं. हर्रा का वाक़या लोग कहते हैं कि नहीं था. हर्रा का वाक़या ये हुआ कि जब यजीद ने ये किया तो अब्दुल्ला बिन हंज़ला रदी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु ने मदीना में यजीद से बैत तोड़ दी और मौत के लिए लोगों से बैत लेना शुरू करी कि वी विल डाई फाइटिंग यजीद to take the revenge of Imam Hussein, what he did to the Imam Hussein, the children of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. इधर ये कर रहे थे, उधर अब्दुल्ला इब्न ज़ुबैर मक्का में उन्होंने बगावत करी और उन्होंने कहा कि हम इसकी बैत तोड़ते हैं और उन्होंने उन लोगों से बैत लेना शुरू की इस पर. अब जब ये आए, इन्होंने मदीना पे जब हमला किया तो ज़ैद इब्न अरक़म ने ख़त लिखा. जब अनस बिन मालिक रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु को ये जब वाक़या हुर्रा के बाद डिप्रेशन हो गया क्योंकि उन्होंने कहते हैं कि अटैक किया और कई सहाबा को शहीद किया, कई बच्चियों को रेप किया और मस्जिद नबवी के अंदर घोड़े बांध दिए गए और वहाँ पर कोई नमाज नहीं पढ़ाई गई. 3 से 7 दिन का कुछ वाक़या बयान करते हैं और रोज़े के मुबारक से अज़ान की आवाज़ आती थी और यजीद कहता था मैंने अपना वाला आबा अजदाद का बदला ले लिया. हमारे अइम्मा किराम उसमें मोहतात हैं, उसको काफिर नहीं कहते हैं, वो कहते हैं वो फासिक फाजिर था, उसका मामला अल्लाह के पास है. लेकिन एज ए मुस्लिम वी आर जस्ट सपोज टू मेक दुआ फॉर देम. एंड जो उसके वफ़ादार हैं अल्लाह ताला उनका मामला यजीद के साथ करे, जो हुसैन के वफ़ादार हैं हम उनके वफ़ादार हैं, अल्लाह ताला हमारा मामला इमाम हुसैन और उनके रफ़क़ा के साथ करे. आमीन अल्लाहुम्मा आमीन. सो when the people of Medina revolted against Yazid and अब्दुल्ला इब्न हंज़ला साहबी वो हैं, इनको गसीलुल मलाइका कहा जाता है. ये वो साहबी थे कि when he was young man and he married, the night he got married, next morning was Battle of Uhud and he was still in his the wedding night. And when he woke up in the morning, somebody gave him news that Prophet ﷺ has been martyred, and he, without even taking ghusl of the janabat, he took his sword and ran to the battlefield of Uhud, and he fought to the point where he died, and he had not had a ghusl. So when people learned that he just came without taking ghusl, so he was actually, water was dripping off his hair. They brought to Rasulullah ﷺ, they said, Ya Rasulullah, we need to give ghusl to Hanzala. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, he is being given ghusl by malaika. He is known as the title of Ghasil al-Malaika. And you see, one night he was with his wife, Allah blessed him with a child, Abdullah bin Hanzala, and that Hanzala stood up for Imam Hussein against Yazid, and he took the bay'ah of the people. There's so much history, man. I'm just Just mind-boggling to go into this. This has to be told over 10 days, and not enough to go over details of it. And then when the army of Yazid invaded Medina, and they made halal for 3 days, and so forth happened. On the other side, after they pledged and destroyed Medina, they were ordered to go to Mecca and destroy Mecca, where Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu ta'ala anhu was protecting it, and they had a fight, and these people were attacking with the fireball and throwing at the rock and with the fire on Kaaba. The Ghilaf Kaaba was burned. While they were doing this, they got the news that Yazid has died. When the Yazid died, they were called to return back to Syria. So they lifted the siege of Kaaba. Never happened after Islam that Kaaba and Medina were ever attacked. And the hadith I was referring to you, where that Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was depressed, Zayd ibn Arqam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, in the hadith, Bukhari hadith 4906, something that number. Yeah, 4,902, 3 and 6. You can find it. In that hadith, it is mentioned that he wrote a letter to Anas bin Malik, and he said, "Do not be grieved." Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Makkah, when he was making dua, he said, "The Ansar, oh Allah, have give maghfirah to Ansar and the children of Ansar." And this was what he was referring to. Allah Ta'ala उनकी मग़फ़रत फरमा, इनके बच्चों की मग़फ़रत फरमा. ये वाक़या हुर्रा की उसके अंदर मेंशन की गई है. ये हदीस इमाम बुखारी ने वाक़या हुर्रा के अंदर मेंशन की है. और इसके अलावा और भी बहुत सारी हदीसें हैं जो कि वाक़या हुर्रा से मुताल्लिक़ हैं, ताबईन के वाक़यात हैं जो कि बिल्कुल सनद के साथ मौजूद हैं कि वाक़या हुर्रा हुआ, काबा पे हमला हुआ. कुछ लोग इसके मुनकिर हैं, जबकि इस बात का इल्म होना चाहिए. After this, when the 6 years, right after 6 years, when Mukhtar Saqafi, he took the revenge of the Imam Hussein Rafaqa's shahadat and the Ma'arika Karbala and the shahadat of Karbala. But then apparently he himself in the Sunni literature reported that he claimed to be the prophet in Medina, and some people say that is not true. But anyhow, he actually was also be counted among the misguided later on. Imam Zainul Abidin, while he was now living a life of outskirts. He was not anymore involved in the politics. Imam Zainul Abidin, this is the time when the Imam, who was supposed to be the Khalifa or the Amir, and also the spiritual leader, the practical and the spiritual, both life, Sharia and Tariqat, both were under one person, split it. Imam Zainul Abidin left the government and he joined the teaching and dawah and Islamic tabligh. So after Yazid died, his son sat on the throne. Now the interesting thing is, another history, very true history, and it is mentioned in the history and the book of Hadith. His son sat on the throne for 6 months. He never came out to run the government system. And 6 months later, he called everybody and he told them, "I cannot sit on the throne which is dipped in the blood of the children of Prophet Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his rafaqa." He said, "I leave this government." Now you see, 3 continents were under his rule. Itni badi badshahat aur hukumat. He left it. And it is reported that 6 months later he died. After he died, Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu ta'ala anhu announced his khilafat. While his khilafat was getting stretched out all over, Marwan bin Hakam, who was the person Prophet ﷺ said, "Do not let him live." And Imam Sayyidina Usman radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that, "I have asked for pardoning for him." He made sure his son, Abdul Malik bin Marwan, apparently he was also a very great scholar of his time. But when he became the Umayyi Khalifa, he became a very cruel person. He's the one who made the golden dome on the Dome of the Rock today, by the way. And he is the one who attacked and fought with Abdullah ibn Zubair radiallahu ta'ala anhu, and he killed them. Then they attacked to the other children of the Prophet Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu's family, related cousins in Yemen. And they went there and killed them also. So you could see that there was a systematic annihilation was going on and killing was being committed. So with this, we are seeing a very, very enormous situation where Khilafat become Malukiyat. And in this all time, we see a son Imam Zainul Abidin carrying the torch of Islam. And when people would realize that he is the one who is really the carrier of the Islamic Sharia and Tariqat, and he became the teacher of the Muslim Ummah, they were all, every alim, faqih, muhaddis would respect him, love him, honor him, and they all were with him. We also should know that not every alim is a alim, every hafiz is a hafiz, every faqih is a faqih. It is reported that in the Yazid army who attacked Imam Hussein, there were 3,000 huffaz and about 300 fuqaha have given fatwa to kill Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So you could see that today, that some people say that it was Imam Hussein who was not on the right path. Na'uzubillah bin zalik. Imam Hussein is the path and is the way and is the righteous inheritor of the Islamic Sharia. As Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, Hassan al-Hussein is Sayyid al-Shabab Ahlul Jannah, Ummuhu Sayyid al-Nisai Ahlul Jannah, and Abuhuma khairu minhum. And there are so many things and hadiths about them. He said, Allah, whoever help Hussein, Allah help him. Whoever love Hussein, Allah love him. Whoever hate Hussein, Allah hate him. And he also said, a person may stand all his life, make dua between Hajj Aswad and Maqam Ibrahim. All his life will Hajj and all the ibadat will be thrown away if they do not have the love for the Ahl Bayt, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One thing also we need to make sure we understand, Panjatan Pak is not the only thing. We as the Sunnah wal Jama'ah, for us, the wives of Rasulullah are as sacred as anybody else. And only one daughter cannot be taken. All the daughters, Sayyida Zainab, Sayyida Kulsum, Sayyida Ruqayya, and Sayyida Fatima radiyallahu anhuna. Ummahat Mu'minat, all of them. As we know that Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gave sand of Karbala to Salma. She is the only Sahabiya, Ummahat Mu'minat, who passed live Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after the Karbala. And he gave to her because all the other passed away before that, and she's the one who had the bottle with her. And according to a narration, a lady named Salma, she is Salma and Salama. So she visited Salama. She says, when I saw her, she's crying, and I asked her, why are you crying and grieving? She said, I have dreamed just now, woke up, and I saw Prophet ﷺ appear in my dream. He was disheveled, and his dirt was on his clothes, and his hairs were disorganized. His amama was missing. And she asked, Ya Rasulullah, what happened? And he said to her, they have killed my Hussein in Karbala. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu describes that he was taking a nap in the daytime, and he had a dream where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam appeared in his dream, and he had a blood in a bottle with him, and he appeared very disturbed and grieved and sorrowed with the hair, with the dirt on them, and spread out beard and all that. So he asked, Ya Rasulullah, where were you? What happened? He said, I'm just coming from Karbala. I was collecting the blood of the Hussein and his rafaqa, his companions all along. And it proves to us that Rasulullah was in Karbala. So somebody will say, if he was in Karbala, why did he not help? Well, Allah was also there. Why did Allah not help Imam Hussein? This is the destiny where they were saying, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma atihi ajra wa sabra. Allah Ta'ala give him sabr and ajr. Give him istiqamat, give him strength. And we also have reported narration while they were taking the caravan from Kufa to Damashq, and Sakina, the younger one of the daughters of Imam Hussein, she got disappeared. And they were trying to move the spear of Imam Hussein's head, and it was not moving. And Imam Zainul Abidin was informed, and he came out. He said, somebody is missing. And they found that the Sakina, his sister, was missing. And they start looking for her, and they found that she was with a lady and who was covered. And apparently she was Fatima bint Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Ali was there. From our belief as Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they were there. They are always with every oppressed and needy. And Allah was listening. But it is the destiny which was set in to happen. It happened. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a strength and ability to be with the truth and stand with the truth. The reality is there is so much to say. I did really bits and pieces. I did not do the justice. May Allah forgive me for not giving the details the way it deserved to be. May Allah accept from us. Every time Muharram comes, this Ashura time comes, 18 youth of the children of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even a Christian priest, when he saw the head of the Imam Hussein, he saw the nur on his face. He said, "Can you give me this for a night?" And he said, "Who is this?" They said, "Oh, he is Hussein, the rebel." He said, "What do you mean, Hussein? Who is Hussein?" He said, "The grandson of our prophet." He said, "You are treating this way to the grandson of your prophet?" He said, "We have what you call uh, the horn or the sum कहते हैं ना, of the donkey of Imam Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. कहता है कि हमारे पास उसका एक खुर है, हम उस खुर को ज़ियारत करने के लिए सारी दुनिया से जाते हैं। हम उस इमाम हज़रत ईसा अलैहिस्सलाम के गधे के खुर की इतनी हुर्मत करते हैं, और तुमने ये सलूक किया अपने नबी के नवासे के साथ." And even when in the court of Yazid, there were Christian other ambassadors, and they were astonished and amazed at how they had treated their people. To love of the Ahl Bayt, at least we can make dua for them, we can follow the sunnah of them, and we can remember them and remind our children what a sacrifice they made for us to be today in Islam. And then revolutions start happening after that, one after another, one after another. And today we see that what happened in the Muslim Ummah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If anybody has any question, please ask me. Otherwise, Imam Alvi will make the dua.